thanks for tuning back in for another one of these fucking live streams. I'm gonna try and get myself in the right position so I can get nice and comfortable. But anyway, in this one, I'm gonna be chatting to you about getting girls in your 20s. Getting girls as a young guy, what you need to know, what I've done, what you can do. Big shout out to Mr. Johnny Burns who requested this topic, and we're just gonna get into it. Hopefully, people will join the chat. If you've got questions, feel free to drop them in. Make sure you give this video a like as well if you want to see more of these live streams. Purpose of this one: how to get girls in your 20s as a young guy, what you need to know. I've created quite a lot of notes that I've got on the laptop, so if I keep looking down this way, there isn't like a Mr. Whippy in the corner. It's just me reading notes so I can keep on track. But really the purpose of this one is to relinquish a few bullshit beliefs that get put around in the mainstream. Because I know there's a lot of red pill men self-improvement commentators who seem to hold the belief that essentially you should be ignoring women in your 20s. All right, this is seems to be a popular belief system that is getting spread around at the moment, where the philosophy appears to be, ignore women in your 20s, use your 20s to build your value as a man, get a 10 out of 10 body, get a glittering career, leverage your value, skyrocket your value, and then when you get into your 30s, that's when you should start having your fun with the feminine. But the problem with this is, I think it's a very dangerous position to get in, right? If let's say you've not had any experience with women until you get into your 30s, I think it's a very dangerous position to be if you follow this red pill manospheric advice. And let's say you get to 33 years old, you've got the glittering career, you've got the great body, you've got the life experience, you've built the perceived value. And then imagine you get your heart broken for the first time at 33 after doing all the things you were told to do. I think that's a very dangerous position for a man to be in if the first time that he gets his heart broken is when he has climbed the value ladder, because it's like, well, what was it all for? If essentially, I think, men are doing all of these things. They're getting the great body, they're getting the flashy car, the fantastic career. It's all done in an attempt, not just to get girls, but I think to avoid heartbreak, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to build myself up so high that I'm going to be bulletproof. I'm going to be immune to all of the bad things that happen. But I don't think this is the way to do it. I think every young man needs to have his heart broken. And I think the earlier you can get your heart broken, the better. Like, I got my heart absolutely crushed. I think I was 19, 20 years old. And it's the best thing that can happen, right? You go through this rock bottom renaissance. You have the car crash clarity. You think, oh, this is the person you're going to spend the rest of your years with. And then it all gets taken away. That's a rite of passage for a man. You need that in your life. And I think if you don't get your heart broken until you get into your 30s because you've been ignoring women for years, I think that is a dangerous position to be in. Okay, so this one I'm going to be talking to you boys about what you can actually do right now to start having fun with the feminine in your early years, and why this is important for you as a man as well. Okay, the more experience you can accumulate in your 20s, the better equipped you're going to be to actually navigate the dating world later in life, right? You're going to find out what you like and what you don't like. You're going to find out your preferences for being in a relationship. You're actually going to have spent time in the trenches and know how to actually navigate relationships. You're going to have experience with the feminine. And this is the most important thing for me. A lot of red pill manospheric content advice seems to be based around doing everything that you can to ignore women, but everything that guys do anyway is to get girls. So for me, it's like trying to learn how to swim by riding a bike. At some point, you need to get in the water and start swimming. That's the only way you'll ever find out what you're truly capable of in the water. You can do all of these distraction activities, and you should be doing everything you can to level up your value across the board. However, you need to treat getting better with women as part of your overall holistic self-improvement journey, right? I think being in a relationship is the ultimate self-improvement exercise. It teaches you about yourself as a person. It's very easy to lose yourself in a relationship. It's very easy to coast and get complacent and get lazy. Like, we've all done it. That's what happened to me in my first relationship. You all of a sudden you forget about everything else. You just get so deeply invested into this one person. And that's why you need to have this experience early on, so you can find out, right, this is not what I want to repeat later in life. So let's get into the juicy shit. Let's talk about how are you right now. Let's say you're in your 20s. How can you actually get girls and start to have fun with the feminine early on? So allow me to consult the screen. What have we got here? First of all, leverage your relative value. This is the most important one. All right, this is the most important thing that you can start doing right now. If you're in your early 20s and you're thinking to yourself, do you know what? I want to have a little bit of fun. I want to have fun with the feminine. How do I actually go about it? I don't really feel as though I've got that much to offer right now. My value isn't where it's going to be when I get into my later 20s. But what can I do right now? The easiest thing to do is leverage your relative value. All right, so let's say you're 23 years old right now, okay? Rather than putting yourself in environments which are more competitive and not conducive to you actually getting success, put yourself in environments where you have a higher relative value, okay? You have to understand that value is fluid and value is easily manipulated. Game is simply learning how to get what you want, okay? That's what game is. It's learning how to get what you want. So you can get what you want better by stacking the odds in your favor. So if you're a 23-year-old guy, rather than going to some swanky VIP bar where all of the guys are like absolutely fucking on it, maybe they're in their late 20s, early 30s, they've got a lot of value to give. You'd be far better off if you're a 23-year-old guy, in my opinion, go into student bars, right? If you're 23 and the girls you're speaking to are 18, 19, your only competition in these student bars are clueless fucking students who are eating pot noodles. And as long as you've got a bit about you, as long as you're pursuing activities that make you stand out, so violent differentiation. So for example, I was a magician, like it's cool, it's interesting, but whatever you're doing, you might be into pottery, martial arts, as long as you've got things going on in your life, and you've got things that you can talk about. Because remember, if you go to these student bars, your only competition is going to be these clueless students. So in order to leverage your relative value, go to places where you are perceived as more valuable, right? So this is where I actually agree with some black pill thinking, okay? So black pill, where they talk about geomaxing and going to locations where essentially you have a higher relative value. So, for example, if you're let's say 5'5" and the average height of your country is 6 foot, you would be considered short in this relative kingdom. But if that same 5'5" guy was to go somewhere like, I don't know, the Philippines, where the average height could be 5'1", you have then manipulated your value and you now be considered tall, right? That's the power of relative value. It's finding these value kingdoms where you can place yourself in them to have a higher relative value. So in that regard, solo travel is also another amazing thing that you can do. If you're a young guy in your 20s right now, maybe you've just finished university, I think this is probably one of the best times that you can go and solo travel. That's what I did. I went to Thailand after I finished university. I had an amazing time there. I was 21 then. Like, let's say you're 21 years old, you've just finished university, or maybe maybe it's like the summer break or whatever the fuck it is. If you can get yourself to a new environment where you can leverage your current relative value. So if you're a 21-year-old guy, get yourself over somewhere like Thailand or Brazil where you can leverage the foreign factor. So even though your value is not as high as it's going to be when you are in your later 20s, early 30s, you can still leverage the value that you've currently got, right? You can leverage the foreign factor. It's such a practical, easy thing that any guy can do. Yeah, you're going to need a little bit of money to travel, but come on, like, you can find ways to make money. I worked at a fucking caravan park to get money together to go to Thailand. I worked like 17 days straight to get like £1,200 together, and that funded my entire Thailand experience. So, if you really want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. So listen, if you get a bit of money together, take yourself on a solo travel expedition. If you're a young guy in your early 20s, in my opinion, the two best things that you can do to leverage your relative value, if you don't want to travel, just put yourself in environments like student bars or go to like student clubs where your competition on a relative scale is lower, and therefore you're able to leverage your relative value and get what you want better, right? This is just how the game is played. If you want to this is about getting points on the board early on. I'm not saying that you're going to be staying, like when you get to like 28, you're still going to be going around the student bars. But if you are a young guy and you simply want to get experience with the feminine, you want to get points on the board, like you can meet some absolutely beautiful girls in these relative kingdoms simply to get points on the board, rather than being like, I have to wait until I'm in my 30s to get girls. It's a complete horseshit mentality to have. Simply leverage your relative value right now. So if you're living, let's say, I don't know, in Manchester or Liverpool in the UK, rather than going to the high-end swanky bars as a young guy where the competition is going to be more fierce, just put yourself in the student bars where your competition is not as fierce. Clue the fucking students are eating pot noodles. You'll stand out a lot better. Obviously, make sure that you are holistically developing yourself as well. It's not a license to be lazy, just being like, okay, all you have to do is turn up and you'll get girls throwing themselves at you. No, you actually have to have something about you. We'll get on to that in a little bit more detail in a second. But yeah, the relative kingdoms that you place yourself in, or take yourself on some solo expeditions, anywhere where you can leverage the foreign factor. Thailand, Brazil, these are amazing places that I've got experience in. Like Thailand is exactly what I did when I was 21. I took myself over to Thailand and Cambodia as well, and had an amazing time over there. So yeah, just understand the importance of leveraging your relative value. You might not be, you won't be in your early 20s. Your value is just not going to be as high as it will be in later years. But that doesn't mean you can't have fun with the feminine. It just means you have to be more savvy about how you actually use what you've currently got, okay? So that's the first thing, leveraging your relative value. What else have we got? The next thing that you want to do if you are a young guy and you want to start consistently getting girls is to skyrocket your actual social skills. All right, this is crucial. Like when I was 18, 19, I was able to pull girls who on paper I should never have been getting. I looked like absolute shit. I didn't have much going for me in terms of value, but what I did have in abundance was obnoxiously good social skills, which I developed over not 10 years. I started performing magic when I was 13. The social skills that I developed, in my opinion, one of the best things that you can leverage in your early years is your social skills, okay? Like, even if you don't look the way that you want to look, even if you don't have your money where you want it to be, the degree to which you can achieve social mastery will be one of your greatest currencies in the sexual marketplace as a young guy. Okay, so let's say, for example, you're going to these student bars or you are going to solo travel. Maybe you do look really good, okay? Maybe you're in great shape as a young guy, but you don't know how to have conversations with people. In my opinion, it's far better to skyrocket your social skills, because social skills really are the bedrock, in my opinion, of your success within the sexual marketplace. It's your ability to lead, to have dynamic conversations, to have the charm, the charisma, the social mastery to actually navigate social relationships. So yeah, in terms of skyrocketing your actual social skills, the best thing that I would say that you can do, pursue more activities, okay? Because you're a young guy, experiment with everything, right? Just experiment with everything. Don't be like, I'm not sure about that. That's not really me. Just do as many things as you can. Like, I was a magician. Great, you don't have to be a magician. You can do like improv, stand-up comedy, practice cold approach, go out at night, like online game, like the more people you can meet. You can never know enough people. Open everybody. Whenever you go out and leave the house in the morning, just say good morning to people. Just get used to opening everybody. The better you can leverage your social skills, the better you're going to be set up for later life. Because social mastery is such a within like self-improvement, like yeah, everyone talks about, going to the gym, getting a great body, working on building your money, but your social skills, your ability to interact with the world and to seduce the world, you want to be investing in your social skills early on. So when you are going to these environments like the student bars, or when you are traveling abroad, you're able to actually open people and start conversations. In fact, I think this is why solo travel is one of the best things that you can do as a young guy. Because let's say you're a 21-year-old guy and you take yourself on a trip to Thailand alone, you are essentially forced to skyrocket your social skills because you don't know anybody. So it's either you're just going to be sat on your own in fucking Bangkok wanking yourself off, or you're going to have to force yourself to go outside and meet new people. Another really good thing you can do as well is, if you are going to solo travel, you don't even have to go that far afield, is to stay in hostels. Okay, if you're a young guy and you just want to get points on the board, staying in hostels is one of the best things that you can do. Hostels are essentially a social breeding ground where it really is. When you're staying in hostels, it simply is the most about who can light up the room the most, who's the most social, right? If you're staying in hostels where there's like 10 other people in your room, you're meeting people from all different nationalities, all different backgrounds, all different walks of life. And because you're in such close proximity with these people, you are really forced to simply start conversations, go out at night with these people. So look, there's a lot of value here, boys. All right, like if you're a young guy and you simply just want to get points on the board, put yourself in different relative kingdoms where you've got a higher perceived value. Solo travel, if you want to go further afield, if you go somewhere like Thailand, you're forced to actually interact with people. You're going to improve your social skills. You're going to be able to put yourself through the social fire. You're going to be able to do things that you wouldn't have otherwise have done. Or if you want to, let's say if you're living in Europe right now, just go and backpack around some hostels for the summer, meet loads of different people, do it on your own as well. So you don't have that social safety net of like your three best friends with you. It's like, right, I'm on my own, I'm in this hostel. I'm not saying that hostels are the pinnacle of life. I don't recommend like, gallivanting around hostels when you are in your late 20s, early 30s. Hopefully you've got a decent bit of money, then you can afford to stay in better places and have a more enjoyable life in that regard. But just treat these your early 20s, it's your batting practice years. Okay, you don't, like, I think there's a lot of pressure these days on men, feel as though they have to be like the finished article early, right? Like if you're 21, 22, 23, experiment with everything, experiment without ego, speak without shame, put yourself in environments just purely for the batting practice, to get points on the board, to learn about yourself as a man. And it doesn't matter if you make mistakes, like give yourself permission to absolutely suck. Like you have to view this as an investment into your future self, right? Like view it as you're planting these seeds of value, and these seeds of value might take 2-3 years to flourish, but these are your batting practice years. And like like your 20s especially, like this is a bit of a tangent, but like make sure that you actually enjoy these years. Okay, your 20s are going to be some of the best years of your life. And I think if you fall too far down the red pill rabbit hole, a lot of these manospheric commentators will have you completely miss out on your 20s, like just work, grind, hustle. You need to have fun as well, right? Because if you're not having fun in your life, you've got very little to look forward to. And I do think it's unrealistic to say to a guy, listen, sacrifice all of your 20s, ignore women for years, and then you'll get women. Like, it doesn't work like that. I think there's very extremist views that sound good to say on camera. 10 years is a fucking long time to just be spending on your own. 100%, you shouldn't make women your main focus. Beautiful women are a beautiful byproduct of a beautiful life, but you do need experience with the feminine early in your life so you're better equipped to deal and understand the feminine later on. The next thing that I would say is, when you are in your 20s, don't be actively looking for the one. All right. When you're in your early 20s, you don't want to actively be looking for the one and trying to get yourself into a long-term relationship that you're committing yourself to this relationship for the rest of your life. That's what I did when I was 18, 19. When I first went to university, I met a girl. First relationship, first sexual experience, and you fall head over heels. You get absolutely besotted. You start to make long-term decisions on short-term feelings. At one point, we were talking about getting fucking engaged. And there's people who I went to school with, a lot of guys I went to school with actually, they're all in long-term relationships with girls they've been with since their early 20s. Some of them are married, some of them have children. And for me, that is a complete waste of your 20s. You should have experience with, in my opinion, multiple girls in your 20s. Now, I say don't be focused on getting into, like, don't be focused on getting the one. I do think in your 20s, you should have experience in a long-term relationship. And look, it's difficult to be strategic about this. You can't really be like, right, I'm going to get to 23, then I'm going to get a girl, then I'm going to be in a relationship for 2 years. I think having a 1 to 2 year relationship in your early 20s is very useful. I think if you can get relationship experience in your early 20s, you're better set up to understand and navigate relationships in your later years. I think if you can experience heartbreak as early as possible, again, this is not really something you can be strategic about, but the earlier you can get your heart broke, in my opinion, the better. Like I say, it's a dangerous position if you've never been heartbroken. Then you get to, let's say, 35 when, oh, I'm in my peak years now. Women should just be throwing themselves at me. You've built all this value and then you get your heart broken. You don't have the experience to know how to actually deal with that. It's a very dangerous position to be in. So don't be actively going out and seeking the one. I mean, like, the one is a controversial, like the one, whatever. It's just geographical convenience most of the time. But if you can find a girl who you really click with, then don't take the advice what these red pill commentators are saying to you, like, oh, just stay single for all of your fucking life, all of your 20s. Like, you need experience with that. You need to be able to know how to actually navigate a relationship, but view that relationship more as an investment into your future self, okay? Don't make long-term decisions on short-term feelings. Don't, for fuck's sake, don't get a girl pregnant, right? If you get a girl pregnant in your early 20s, bro, that's not a good position to be. I'm not saying that your life is over. I had a pregnancy scare, not me personally. I wasn't fucking bloated with a baby. When I can't remember how old I was, 20, 21. I was with a girl who thought that she was pregnant, and that really does hit home. It's like you learn the hard way or you learn the hardest way. And for about 2 weeks, I think it was like about 2 weeks, we were like, oh, is she, isn't she? She thought she was pregnant. She had the symptoms, and we did a test, and it turned out she wasn't. But that like 2 week window, that corridor of uncertainty that I was placed within, that really hit home to me how important your freedom actually is. So yeah, please do be careful with that, because you can fuck up your life very quickly if you get an unwanted pregnancy. So yeah, obviously, wrap that shit up. Make sure that you don't make stupid fucking decisions like that. But yeah, look, having a relationship in your early 20s, I think, is incredibly useful. View it more as an exercise in your self-optimization journey. I think that was what I wanted to say for that one. There was what else have we got here? So yeah, hopefully that's useful. Said that. Yeah, the other thing that I would say, in terms of getting girls in your 20s, or simply using your 20s to leverage your value, is focus on building the good habits, okay? I think your 20s are amazing batting practice for your later years. Like, I think, a lot of people, like, ignore women for years, wait until you're in your 30s. But then people are like, yeah, but when I get into my 30s, like, what, I'll be like fat, bald, and ugly. And it's like, well, yeah, you could be. So you don't just like get to your 30s and all of a sudden everything falls into place. Like, your 30s are a product of your 20s, right? So that's why right now, if you're watching this and you are in your early 20s,
focus on building the good habits. Okay, focus on building the good habits. Make sure you're educating yourself on fitness, on diet, on nutrition, making sure that you're actually taking care of yourself, educating yourself on different topics as well. Like, don't just be one of those clueless 20-year-olds who's got nothing to say about anything. He's just like fucking gaming all day. Like, educate yourself on history, on politics, on finance. Work on building up your value, but just have that longer term mentality for it. Understand that if you are 21, 22, 23 right now, your value is just simply not going to be as high as it will be when you're in your late 20s, early 30s. So it's simply understanding speed and patience, okay? Mixing speed and patience. So showing up every day, executing, but accepting as well that it may take 5, 6, 7 more years for you to actually enjoy the fruits of your labor. I made the comparison before. Like, when I'm creating videos like this, videos that I made 2 years ago, it's speed and patience. It's knowing that I'm executing every day. I'm planting these seeds of value. A video that I could make, say I make a video next week, that video might not hit its peak for like 3 or 4 years, depending on how the algorithm wants to play. It's like the video that I made with George, the cold approaching one, where it's like, oh, been out of the game for a little while. When that video first got published, it didn't perform amazingly well, but now it's almost at 6,000 views because the algorithm has picked it up over time. The value tree has flourished. Now people are starting to watch that video more and more. It's getting more attention. So that's the same way that you've got to view your masculine journey. Treat it like a YouTube video, right? You could put this video out tomorrow and it might not come into full fruition until 3 or 4 years down the line. You have to accept that. You have to be like, right, have that longer term mentality, right? You're delaying the gratification. If you're training at the gym 4 times a week, you might not get your 10 out of 10 body for another 2 or 3 years. And you have to be okay with that. You have to understand that the work that I put in now, I won't get the full benefits of it until maybe 10 years down the line. It's the extent to which you're prepared to eat shit for a little while. You know what I mean? So, everyone wants shit right now. It's like, oh, we live in a society addicted to immediacy where everything's available at the swipe of a screen or the touch of a button. It's like, speed and patience, okay? Speed and patience, showing up every day, executing, leveraging your relative value. So you can still have fun now, but understand that the full fruits of your labor may not come into full fruition until later down the line. That's fine, okay? So, I think I mentioned this point as well, but definitely just experimenting with everything, okay? So if you are a young guy, you've got time on your side, experiment with all different avenues to bring beautiful girls into your life. Day game, night game, online game. Why the fuck not? Have some passive income coming in from, if you want to use a fucking online dating. Actually, that's the final thing that I'll say thinking about it now. Have a strong online presence, okay? Like, if you can create a strong online presence for yourself as a young guy, this will work really nicely when you are in these relative kingdoms. Let's say, when I say have a strong online presence, leverage your Instagram more. I've made a video like a couple of days ago, which is how to get a woman obsessed with you, how to pimp out your Instagram profile. This does matter, okay? Like, if you don't currently have a solid online presence, it will work against you. And I think using your early years to curate a compelling online presence is essential, right? It does make a difference, like, especially if you're speaking, if you're interacting with girls who are at university, they'll want to see, are you on Instagram? And it's like, if you don't have an online presence, it definitely does work against you. So I see amazing value if you are a younger guy and you are leveraging your relative value. If you want to chuck a little bit of money getting some professional photographs taken so you can actually curate a compelling Instagram, it's only going to work in your favor. Even things like, as vain as it sounds, like having a decent following on Instagram, for example. And again, this ties really nicely into skyrocketing your social skills, talking to everybody. If you stay in like 10 different hostels, you meet people from all around the world, you exchange Instagrams, your follower count's going up and up and up. I think if you've got over 1,000 followers, and this sounds vain as fuck, but it's just true. If you've got over 1,000 followers on Instagram, for example, and your follower count is higher than your following count, it does definitely make a difference. It 100% does. So that's a really practical thing that anyone can start doing. Start upgrading your online presence, and it will work in your favor, especially when you are interacting with girls. She'll take a look at your Instagram profile. You've got the social proof. You've pre-selection, plus you're violently differentiated in comparison to the clueless students that she's meeting, and then you can use your solo traveling, your time in your hostels, whatever, to create this compelling profile. And you've got more interesting stories to talk about as well. So yeah, I think the main thing for anybody watching is like who's looking how to actually get girls in their early 20s, in my opinion, the best thing that you can do for yourself is to put yourself in as many new environments as possible. Travel as much as you can. Even if you can't afford international travel, go to different cities in your country. Go to the student bar so you can leverage your relative value. Just experience as much of as life as possible. You've got more interesting things to talk about. You become a more compelling character. Like when I was performing magic since I was 13 years old, it gets you used to putting yourself in front of new people, doing things on your own, being more self-reliant, being more self-resilient, going through these rites of passages. So if you can find interests, hobbies that separate you, if you're a musician, if you're into stand-up comedy, or even if you don't have anything that you're interested in right now, finding things to be interested in, pursuing those activities, any activities which force you to put yourself in front of new people or perform to an audience, like music, like magic, like stand-up, improv, whatever, salsa, bachata, like there's no reason why you can't experiment with these things, right? Because most guys, oh, I don't want to do that, I'm not sure if it's me. Like, you're not going to find out if it's you until you actually start doing it. So yeah, hopefully this one's been useful for you. If you've enjoyed this one, then drop it a like, all that good stuff. But yeah, I've tried to keep this as condensed for you as possible. I think the main thing is understanding the importance of leveraging your relative value. If you are a young guy, it doesn't mean you have to wait till your 30s to start to have fun with the feminine. You just need to be strategic. You have to remind yourself that value is fluid, value is easily manipulated. Put yourself in environments where you've got a higher relative value. Then you can start getting points on the board. Then you get experience with the feminine. Then you get experience with relationships and navigating the sexual marketplace. 100% continue to maximize your value, build yourself up to the highest version, and just be realistic about it as well. You need to view the male journey as this long-term project rather than this short-term gain, okay? So if you're a 23-year-old guy right now, just be realistic and understand that your value is simply not going to be as high right now as it will be when you get into your late 20s, early 30s. But that does not mean you should just be slacking off. Your 30s are a product of your 20s. But I completely disagree with the horseshit advice given by most manospheric commentators, which is ignore women until your 30s. It makes no fucking sense. You need experience in the swimming pool. All right, if you want to be an Olympic swimmer, you need experience in the swimming pool. It's not about being like, yeah, I'm just going to ignore swimming until like I'm in my fucking 30s. It doesn't make any sense. You need to use your 20s as an investment into your 30s, but that means getting experience with the feminine as early as possible. Okay, so I think there was some comments which I'll just hoover up. Do you think the dynamic of cold approach has changed in 2023? Everyone lives in the digital world, has no clue on how to maintain in-person social interactions anymore. Do I think the dynamic of cold approach has changed in 2023? I mean, 100% we live in more of a hyper-digitalized age where the art of communication is becoming more rare. But the way that I see it is human beings are always going to want to interact with one another. We are a social species. And I think, if anything, now is the best time to be investing in your social skills. Now's the best time to be learning the art of communication, because that skill is becoming more and more rare. That's how you will stand out. Whilst every other person in your age bracket is addicted to TikTok and scrolling, and whatever the fuck else, they're invested in that digital rabbit hole. If you can be the guy who invests in your social skills now, and you're rocking up to these environments where no one else knows how to communicate with each other, bro, you're going to stand out on a crazy scale. I see it all the time when I go to places. If I go to bars or environments where the guys in that environment have no clue how to actually interact with people, okay? So, and, you know, it's not just learning cold approach, it's learning social skills. That is, like I've said it before, the day game and street approaching, they're not the same thing. It's simply learning the art of communication, viewing day game or just game in general as a way of delivering the value that you've built to the world. So, in answer to your question, right now, in my opinion, is the best time to be investing in your social skills. The best time to actually be maximizing this area because no one else is doing it, right? No one else is taking the time to actually skyrocket their social abilities. Everyone else is just far too addicted to the screen. It's just like fucking like, oh, DMing people. You've got age of just fucking simps, right? Who are just, they don't know how to communicate anymore. People don't know how to actually have genuine, interesting conversations. That's why you've got the rise of fucking OnlyFans or these simps who are just like chucking money at women on a screen. And look, to an extent, I do have sympathy for the simps. Sympathy. I do have sympathy for those guys to an extent because the age that we live in, I think they simply haven't been shown how to actually communicate with the world, and their lives are just not conducive at the moment for actually having genuine relationships. That's the only thing that they know how to do. So to an extent, I do sympathize with them. However, I think any guy who's watching this, the best thing that you can take away from this, even if you're not in your early 20s, even if you're in your fucking 30s, start investing in your social skills. Go to meetup.com, put yourself in more environments where you are forced to interact with new people. Take yourself on solo travel expeditions. Also as well, if you are a young guy, I think another amazing thing you can actually do is have friends who are older than you. Okay, if you're a 23-year-old guy and you've got guy friends who are like 28, 29, 30, you're learning through osmosis. You're soaking up their life knowledge by spending time with them. So seeking out mentors who've got skin in the game, who can take you under their wing and be like, listen, this is what you need to do. Avoid this. Come out with us at a night out. We'll show you how to do things. If you're a 21-year-old guy and all of your friends are the same age as you, you're not getting exposed to knowledge that you could be exposed to if you had friends who are older. It's like when you read a book from a guy who's like 50 years older than you. You read that book, you soak up all of that person's knowledge, you learn through osmosis. So if you are a younger guy, you want to fast track your process, then find friends who are older than you so you can actually soak up their wisdom, and you'll have a better time. You'll actually be able to learn quicker than you would have been able to if the only people you're surrounding yourself with are people around your age or people who are absolute fucking losers, right? So yeah, make sure the people that you actually spend time with are conducive to your overall development. But yeah, in answer to your question, the art of communication is getting more rare. So if you can invest in your social skills now, you'll do well, not just now, but in the future as well, because the more digitalized we get, the more rare social communication will actually become. And by the time you get into your 30s, you'll be light years ahead of everybody else because you decided to zig when everyone else was zagging. What else are people saying? You should learn organization and percent. I don't know what that means. I mean, yeah, organization is good. Completely agree with everything you said. I'm 24, been leveling up my approaches, social skills, and online games, slowly becoming better and seeing my first results after 6 months. Yeah, there we go. 100%. Like, if you're a 24-year-old guy right now, I think you've got your entire life ahead of you, and that's why you do need to have more of that zoomed out perspective, right? You have to understand that you're planting these seeds of value, and it might take a long time for you to actually come into, like, for example, I'm 26 right now, all right? I started all of this when I was 23, and I've documented the entire thing on YouTube, so you can look back at my older videos and be like, oh, whoa, fuck, he's grown up a lot since then, right? So I started when I was 23, and I would say since because I turned 26 when I was in Rio in Brazil, I would say 26, because I've been invested in all of this shit since I was 13, but in terms of the actual game side of things, like I started when I was 23, and I would say when I hit 26, that was the age for me when I really started to feel as though, fuck, I can actually feel the difference now. I felt as though I'd hit this new level. I was looking at all of the people around me who are my age, and you do start to see like I think 25, 26 for me is the age where for me I saw the gap between me and other guys my age. You start to break away from the pack. I think I heard Chris from First Man. I don't know if you watch his stuff. Like, he's got some good stuff. He's like, he's of the mindset that you should ignore women until whatever. But he makes a good point where I think he says it's 25. Is it 27? I can't. Anyway, for me, 26 is where I really started to notice the differentiation between myself and other guys my age. Right. So like a lot of the guys who I went to school with. They're in long-term relationships. They still live in the same small town. Some of them have got kids. Some of them are married. Especially like the popular kids at school. I was far from being the popular kid at school. The popular kids at school. I look at all of those people now. People who I used to be like, oh, I wish I was that person in school. They're absolute fucking losers now. They're just working dead-end jobs. They haven't done anything significant with their lives. They've basically just married the first girl that they had experience with, and it's that zoomed out longer term perspective, right? It's like they've cashed in early because they had the dopamine hit of being Mr. Popular at school. It's like being a child star, a child actor. You get all of this attention early on, and it makes you lazy. It makes you complacent because to a large extent, I was an absolute fucking loser at school. Like, I had no social abilities. I looked like absolute shit. I looked like absolute shit until probably about a year ago, to be honest. But point being, I think one of the best things that you can be is unpopular at school, right? Because it gives you that fight. It lights that fire in your ass to be like, there's more to life than this. I don't want to be this way forever. It's like if you get given so much at an early age, it 100% fucks with your reward system, and you don't become as passionate, as motivated, as driven to actually create obnoxious success for yourself. So yeah, listen, if you're an absolute loser at school, that's probably the best thing that could ever have happened to you, because it makes you want more for yourself. And also you have a reference point of how you don't want life to be. If you have it easy your entire life, it doesn't make you hungry. So, if you're 21 years old right now, your life's not where you want it to be, you feel like a loser, you look like shit, it's on you to actually change that shit, right? Like, hopefully you can use my journey so far as a reference point. Like, if you look at my videos from a couple of years back, like, I was nowhere near the level that I'm at now, and that it doesn't happen by luck, it happens by design. So if you've got a clear vision for your life, if you know the man that you want to be, if you can actually write it down, pen and paper, this is the exercise that I'll leave you with, because it's actually incredibly powerful. If you can just get a pen and a paper and you write down your ideal reality. Okay, if you can write down specifically your ideal reality, so where you want to be living, how much money you want to be making, what your mental health looks like, what sort of women that you want, or what sort of woman you want, like what your ideal relationship looks like, how you want to be making money, so what job you're doing, what your day-to-day life looks like, what sort of shape are you in, what sort of car do you drive, like the more specific you can be, the better. And that gives you optimism. And that, I think, is one of the greatest currency of this world. It's hope. It's optimism. If your life is not where you want to be right now and you're 20 years old, then fucking newsflash, of course it's not where you want it to be. You're 20 years old. And like, that's why you can't be getting depressed. If you're 20 years old, your life's not where you want it to be, bro, you're still a fucking baby. And the thing that keeps you going, it's the speed and the patience. So if you can write down where you want to be in 10 years, then you reverse engineer that. Like, you're not going to get a beautiful girlfriend, you're not going to get an amazing body, you're not going to be driving a fucking supercar or living in a penthouse, however you define your material success. You're not going to have any of those things until you take it step by step. If you're climbing the ladder to success, you need to take that shit one step at a time. You need to be like, right, how do I actually get this? It's a step-by-step process, but you need to have that hope. You need to have that optimism. I find writing down what it is that you actually want, that will allow you to keep yourself on track, reminding yourself of those things every day. And your wants and your needs may change, but I think just having a clear thing to shoot for, create a weekly schedule. So like, you write down every week what you want to achieve. This is how you reverse engineer getting to where you want to be. And then over time, and you change and you develop and you go through the circus of life and you have all of these different experiences. making sure that you're living experientially rather than theoretically, right? There's only so far that content like this will take you. The best learning is the learning you spend through time in the trenches, okay? You need to have skin in the game if you actually want to succeed in all areas of life. You could watch a million fitness videos, but until you actually get in the gym and start putting those reps in, you're not going to truly know what applies to you and what doesn't. You're not going to truly learn about your own body until you actually start taking those steps. So yeah, hopefully that this video has been useful for you, boys. The purpose of this was simply to try and give you as much value as possible so your life is better for it. If you've enjoyed this, even if you're watching on repeat, drop it a like. I think, what else can you do? Yeah, just drop it a like. That'll be nice. Yeah, drop it a like if you enjoyed it. If you want to see more of these live streams. If you've got any more topics that you'd like to hear me discuss, feel free. Having all the friends is key, even if it's just a year in me like Christian. Yep, having all the friends 100% is key. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this one, give it a like. And yeah, if you've got any more topics that you'd like to hear discussed on the Castlenovian live streams, either comment on this video, send us an email, ukdagam@gmail.com, message me on Instagram @ChristianMagician. And yeah, bro, hopefully that this has helped you. This is simply my views on how to get girls as a young guy. This is just advice. I might know nothing. But I truly hope that this has helped you. And